If you've been following any Lorcana news, you know the Lorcana Pro Play Tour kicked off this past weekend, which was the first live streamed Lorcana event, and this was the deck that topped that event. I've spent the last few days playing this deck, and while there may be a few changes to ratios, this deck really does play well. Let's get into the deck, and then I have some gameplay at the end to show off. This deck runs a crazy amount of 1 and 2 drops, kicking off with everyone's favorite Amber card, Lilo Making a Wish. Not much to say about this card, just an amazing aggro card. We also run 4 copies of Stitch New Dog. He's primarily in here to shift early into Stitch Rockstar, but he's also just a good 2-2 baseline, inkable 1 drop. Next up is 4 copies of Captain Hook Forceful Duelist. This is a great 1 drop that on our turn he has 3 strength to deal with any early threats on board. We have 4 copies of Simba Future King. While in here mainly for Stitch Rockstar payoff, it also gives a way to see more cards where we can draw a card and then discard a card when he is played. Our next 1 drop is 3 copies of Goons Maleficent's Underlings. This is just another basic 2-2 inkable card. Moving on to 2 drops, and we have 4 copies of Simba Protective Cub. This Simba offers Bodyguard, which is a great way to protect our Lilo or other low cost cards because the opponent has to challenge him first. We also run 4 copies of Prince Eric Dashing and Brave, which, like Captain Hook, is a 3 strength card on our turn to deal with anything early game. Next is a card that's quickly becoming one of my favorites, and it's 4 copies of Ariel Spectacular Singer. If we're not able to quickly set up aggro, Ariel lets us take control with any of our songs that we'll go over later. There is also 3 copies of Tinkerbell Tiny Tactician, which we can exert to draw a card and discard a card, letting us get through our deck faster. She is also an early shift target for our next card, 3 copies of Tinkerbell Giant Fairy. This card lets us spread damage out to each opposing character when she is played, and also when we banish a card in a challenge with her, we get to put 2 damage on an opposing character. This card is great for mirror matches against other aggro decks, letting us knock out low willpower characters. Our final character is Stitch Rockstar. This card is great in letting us go super wide while replenishing our hand as we do it. For actions, there's 4 copies of Smash, which is just amazing targeted damage, dealing 3 damage to a chosen character. Our songs start off with 4 copies of Be Our Guest. This card gives us the ability to look at the top 4 cards of our deck and put a character into our hand. This card is great if we're looking for an early shift into Stitch Rockstar or Tinkerbell Giant Fairy. Our next songs are the bread and butter of Amber Steel decks, with 4 copies each of Grab Your Sword and A Whole New World. Grab Your Sword lets us spread damage onto the opponent's cards and is great synergy with Tinkerbell Giant Fairy, who does the same. A Whole New World lets us rush to the board regardless of our hand size and just fill it back up, while the opponent hopefully has combo pieces in their hand that they have to discard. Our lone item card is 3 copies of Lantern. With this being a non-inkable card, the original pilot of this deck in the tournament said that's why they only ran 3, and honestly I think it's a good call. 3 still lets us find this card frequently in matches without it being a drawback too much. This card lets us exert to pay 1 less for our next character. With the amount of 1 cost we have, this can make them free, and it also lets us shift into Stitch Rockstar a turn early, going Stitch New Dog turn 1 into Lantern turn 2, exert Lantern turn 3 to shift into Stitch Rockstar turn 3. Now let's get into some gameplay. Alright, looks like we are going to be going second in this matchup. We actually have a halfway decent starting hand here. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of Stitch Rockstar because we don't have our early Stitch, and then we have multiple copies of Prince Eric, so I'll go ahead and get rid of those. They're going to ink a Jasmine, and past us we get one of our other Stitch Rockstars. I'm going to ink this Simba, just go ahead and pass. They're going to ink another Jasmine and play a Lantern, so they are on an Amber Sapphire. We draw another Simba. Just going to go ahead and ink that again because I'd like to get my own Lantern in play as quick as possible here. And then pass to my opponent. They are going to ink a Rapunzel. And they're going to use their Lantern to play a Belle. From the cards I've seen, it looks like they Might be on some sort of princess strategy here. Go ahead and ink this Be Our Guest. We have plenty of the characters we need right here in our hand. And I'm going to go ahead and use Lantern. Get our Stitch out here for free. And then drop our Tinkerbell Tiny Tactician and pass. They're going to ink a Hakuna Matata and ramp some of their ink with the one jump ahead. Play a Cinderella. So yeah, they're definitely on some sort of princess strategy here. And we draw our Simba. And I'm going to go ahead and ink this Ariel. We don't have any of our songs in hand here. And then go ahead and shift into Tinkerbell Giant Fairy. I can put some damage on the board here. And then I can go ahead and knock out this bell, which will let me put some damage onto the Cinderella. And then I'm just going to go ahead and quest with this Stitch here. And they're going to let it go. That's actually fine since that Tinkerbell was shifted. That actually puts 2 into our inkwell, so I am okay with that. And they are going to use their Cinderella to remove some damage. That's alright. That leaves it exerted for us. Go ahead and use Lantern here. Let me shift for a little bit less into our Stitch Rockstar. And then I'm going to go and play our Simba and use Stitch Rockstar to exert it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and quest with our Stitch here. I think we're in a pretty good spot with our cards in hand here. They have a Moana to play. They are going to go ahead and just quest with their Cinderella. And then pass it over to us. We do get another Prince Eric here. I'm going to go ahead and Lantern to get one Prince Eric. So I can draw. We get a Stitch. I'm going to go ahead and smash to put 3 damage on Cinderella here. And then get that Stitch out into play. Get the Rockstar off. We do get a whole new world. And I'm going to go ahead and just take out this Cinderella this turn here. And then quest with our Stitch. And pass. They're going to play a Jasmine. They're going to go ahead and take out our Simba. And it's going to be our turn here. We do draw a Smash. Go ahead and activate our Lantern here to get a Prince Eric out into play. And draw a card. We do see a Tinkerbell. We'll go ahead and shift into our Stitch Rockstar. Go ahead and put 3 more damage on Moana and then finish it off with our Stitch Rockstar here. And then Quest, we are up 10-2, so in a really good spot here. They are going to ramp with their Mickey Mouse Detective and drop a Minnie Mouse. And then they're just going to quest with their Jasmine here. And on to our turn. I'm going to go ahead and use this Smash to put 3 damage on Jasmine. And then just go ahead and take it out with one of our Prince Erics. And then Lantern to drop this Tinkerbell. And then, yeah, they're just going to go ahead and concede. I know when the list came out for this tournament, people were shocked to see that this deck did top, but I really think it does have a lot of answers in that we can match aggro, go really fast, but we also have these control aspects too that make the deck kind of mid-rangey where we can keep up with these other control decks. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and then subscribe for more Lorcana content.